Abubakar Nuhu, representing Kano Municipal, Kano State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to support this motion. I think this motion, has come at the time that it will support the economy of Nigeria. It doesn't make economic sense for us to be holding idle money. And while we're holding idle money in trillions, and we're now looking for other avenues to fund some of our infrastructural projects. And I think it is not out of place for us to look at this motion, because the mover of the motion has clearly stated that we should do, or in one of his prayers, that there should be an interface within the stakeholders in order to discuss ways and means of how this money can be utilized in funding infrastructures. We're talking of federal government infrastructures. And what we're talking about is that if you are having this kind of money that has been there for many, many years, unused, unutilized, and at the time where we're looking at other ways or other sources of funding our budget, especially that we're talking of borrowing, these funds, I think, will go a long way in reducing some of the borrowing that the country will do. So I think the motion has come at a critical point in time, while Nigerians should, I think, celebrate it, thank that we are looking at this kind of avenues. So I'm calling on my colleagues to please support this motion so that this motion can pass. I so support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I am appealing to this great house that we need to do what is needful so as to move this nation in the right direction. As I am speaking to you now, Mr. Speaker, I am aware the South African pension fund is in Nigeria economy. There are several facets of Nigeria economy making money. The intention of those who came about the idea of pension fund is not for it to be warehouse and just stored somewhere, but it's for it to generate returns, but not to put the pensioners in jeopardy. That is why it is deliberate structures to go into certain specific infrastructure that we know will not fail. Mr. Speaker, the intention of this motion is to stir up in us the desire to see how we can ameliorate these challenges. The intention of the motion is to bring stakeholders together and look at the viability of this option, study templates in other parts of the world, and see which one is amenable and appropriate for Nigeria's situation.
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I'm from Delta State. Let me first and foremost commend the mover of this motion for coming up with what I probably want to call a new innovation in our country. It is extremely important that we look at the subject matter that he is discussing, knowing fully well that as a nation we are confronted with infrastructural decay, mindful of the fact that we run a monocultural economy, depending solely on oil, and today the dwindling price of oil has affected this great economy negatively. I believe that this is a concept that we need to clinically analyze, but it is important, extremely important, that as much as this motion is, we need to also appreciate that pension funds are purely OPM, which I call other people's money. And it is like funds sitting in the banks. And I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt that much as the 5 trillion is sitting down in the bank or in other investment portfolios, they are not free money. It therefore means that for us to look further into this particular funding, much as we also know that there is nothing like free lunch, when we look at this concession, it becomes important, extremely important, that the managers of the pension scheme must sit down vis-a-vis with the various government of the Federation, also the various committees to look at the viability of their own investment. And in looking at the viability of their own investment, their major target is going to be profit. Profit in the sense that this funds has to be returned back to the beneficiaries of this fund who have actually placed their funds in this whole investment. Okay. May I therefore advise, Mr. Speaker, that first, this is a wonderful concept, but the prayer 1 and 2 should be deleted, while the third prayer, which is mandate the Committee on Pensions, Finance and Capital Markets, an institution to interface with the National Pension Commission and other stakeholders on the viability of investing pension funds in infrastructural or in an infrastructural facility. The essence of this particular finding is that it is important to know that these people save this money for a particular age. And when you get to that age and you don't get your money back, it could be extremely frustrating. It may end up leading to early death, and you know how frustrating it is when you have your investment tied up. So I will appeal that as laudable as the whole exercise is, let's take a first analysis, a first clear analysis to make sure that the project itself is viable, the modality and the methodology in which the pensioners who get their funds in this concession should be the priority.
So I'll put them and allow only prayer 3. Any seconder to this amendment?